weighed 2.5 to 5 kgs at 2.5 to 3.5 kgs at birth, I was born severely overweight. And right at birth, I became the center of attention when people who were there in the hospital gathered around my cot to have a good look at me. And that continued, my mother says. When I got home, until I was about 1.5, my neighbors would often come home and they would wait to carry me, to lift me in their arms. A little fast forward, around the age of 4.5, I joined school. And back then in my time, school was more on academics. So if you were good at academics, you were certainly to be liked by the teacher. You'll become the teacher's favorite, or the teacher would know you by your name. And that did not happen to me because I turned out to be an average student. And to add fuel to the fire, I did not have any friend in the class. I still don't understand why, but it happened. So no friends, teacher not liking me. You can imagine, I never looked forward to going to school. And it was during that time that I became quite shy and introvert. I started developing, problems in my speech. I would not be able to maintain eye contact with people. I was termed as average. Well, I suffered from low self-esteem, low confidence. A little fast forward, I continued like this till I was in grade 6, and then something happened. I flunked in a subject, geography, and geography was introduced to us that very year. But because I was shy, because I was timid, because I was scared of opening my mouth in front of others, I never told my teacher that I was not able to understand what she was teaching me. She was clueless. I was clueless about the subject. And so when I gave my first exam in geography, I failed. But that was a changing moment in my life. I did not take it well. I was devastated. I felt I was sinking. And I certainly remember I didn't want to get drowned. And help came my way. My home tutor offered help to pull me out of that situation. With her help, I bounced back. The exam was 3 months away, and I put in all I had. I remember clearly waking up every morning at 4 o'clock and studying geography for 3 hours. And after 3 months, when I sat for an exam, I thought I'd written a good paper. 2 weeks after the exam, when my geography teacher walked in, she had a very neutral expression on her face. She called out, "Who is Nupur?" I got up and I was really scared. Did I not do well? Did I fail again? What if she tells me to leave the class? It's going to be so embarrassing. There were thoughts flying in my mind. But just then, just at that very moment, that neutral expression turned into a smile and she said, "Congratulations. You have scored a 76 out of 80. How did you do that?" And at that very moment, I remember my class erupted. I mean, there were claps everywhere. I can still imagine that sound. It's so fresh in my mind, even after so many years. And that moment was a changing moment in my life. That was a turning point in my life, because at that moment, that shy little timid girl felt confident after many, many years. The next day, I was asked to speak in the assembly to share my journey. How did I turn that failure into success? And then there was no looking back. As I told you, back then in my time, school was all about academics. And since I started doing well in academics, I was chosen to be the house representative, and I was asked to participate in quizzes and elocution and public speaking. And I wholeheartedly gave everything I had to these competitions. Sometimes I won, sometimes I did not win, but my confidence grew every day. Fast forward. Today, I'm a storyteller. And most of my time is spent on stage, behind the mic, under a spotlight, delivering stories, delivering presentations. I'm asked to judge competitions, to speak in public, to give presentations, and that's what I do. And I do it with a lot of confidence, and I'm telling you, I'm always able to engage my audience. So whatever experience I have accumulated over the years, I'm going to bring it all today. One moment, your audio video will be paused. Okay. Yeah, so I'm sorry, there was a technical glitch there. So whatever experience I have accumulated on building powerful presentations, I have brought it all today, and in this masterclass, which I hope that you enjoy. I'm a storyteller, a story coach, published author, and for the next 1 hour, I'm going to unveil the secret of powerful presentations, and that's storytelling. So I'm going to talk about why do we need to use stories in presentations. A brief pause here, and a big hi to everybody out there. I'm so happy that you all found time to join me in this masterclass. A big hello once again. So we will move on. Now, I would like to start with this question, and I would conduct a poll here. I would like to know from you that have you ever given a presentation, right? Have you ever spoken in front of a group of people, presenting a deck of slides, or talking about an idea, or given a speech? Have you ever done that? And if your answer is yes, okay, all right, let me ask you first. So if you have done that, you have to answer in yes and no, okay? So if it is a yes, you can say A, and if it is no, then you can click on B. Okay, so this is what I'm going to go with. I'm going to create a poll. Okay, there you go. Okay, so all right. Oh, that was so quick. So many of you are saying that we have given presentations. Yes, there's nobody out here who hasn't given a presentation. All right. So my next question to you is, have you ever given a presentation and you have seen your participants or audience fidgeting and feeling bored? Yeah. Have you experienced that ever? Okay, so I'm going to do that again with you. I'm going to do a poll. So if you think that, yes, we have experienced our participants getting bored, then click on A. Otherwise, if you haven't experienced, if you have always engaged your audience well, then it is B. Okay, so let's go ahead. Okay, so A, if you think, yes, we have seen our audience getting bored, and B, no, I've always engaged my audience. So many of you have given presentations where your participants where you have not been able to engage your participants. Cool. Have you ever sat through a presentation and felt bored? Like you have not given a presentation, but you have attended a presentation and you're like, oh God, when is it going to get over? Okay, have you ever experienced that? And again, A, if it's yes, and B, if it is no. So many of, even me, even I have experienced such presentations where I was literally pulling my hair apart and said, when will this get over? All right. Now, why does that happen? I would like to hear from you. Why do you think, audience gets bored, or, you as an audience have gotten bored when you've attended a presentation? Why did it happen? What was missing in that presentation? What was missing in that presentation? You were nervous. All right, so you were nervous, so that nervous. I'm noting your responses down. Maybe presenter was not prepared. Manan says maybe lack of preparation. That could also be a big issue. Lack of preparation, nervousness. What else? What else? Fails to create the impact when you're presenting. Expressions were sad. Yeah. Yes, agree. That can. Shantanu said expressions are sad, so quite didn't enjoy the presentation. Agreeing says stage fear. Oh, nervousness, huh? Stage fear, nervousness. Any other thoughts? What could have gone wrong that made you feel bored? Or what did you do? Did you give a presentation where you made your audience feel bored? Feel like, all jittery, shaky, fidgety? I would love to hear from you. Waiting for your answers. All right. Okay, so we'll move on. All right. So yes, these are some of the prime factors which can make a presentation dull and boring. If the presenter himself or herself is very nervous, is scared, or has not has not prepared herself or himself well, or is not able to express what she or he wants to say, so you feel totally disconnected. Okay. So next is what makes a good presentation. Okay, so what makes a good presentation? If you want to give a good presentation that your audience loves, what should the presentation have? Apart from the content, okay, so suppose you're giving a presentation on healthy eating habits, so you have good content. You talk about the nutritional value of foods, you talk about eating right, and checking the amount of food that you eat, eating in time. All that content is super. You even have come up with data. Okay, you've collected some relevant data and you have put it all together beautifully, and you have presented a beautiful infographic. Infographic is information that is presented visually. So everything is in place. What else is needed? Expressions. Okay, no stage fear. Expressions, body gestures. Yes, Manan, agree. That is very important. You need to be expressive. You need to be able to, you need to be comfortable on stage. Need to have exude positive vibes. Your body language should be very positive. Apart from this, anything that can make the presentation very engaging. What are you here for? This is your clue. What are you here for? What am I going to talk about today? That is enough of a clue. Come on. You all are smart learners. What is that one more thing that is needed to make good presentations? Shall I give you the answer? If it's a yes, show me that you want an answer from me. Agrim says that, okay, so making things feel real, factual. Okay. Shantanu, yes, that comes under expressions, that you should always be smiling, Yeah, that is very good, important as well. Apart from this, I would say it's stories. It's stories that make for a good presentation, because you do not want a disengaged audience. Just look at this picture. Somebody is yawning, someone is looking around, not interested. This particular lady seems to be dozing off, but you do not want disengaged audience. You want a happy, connected audience cheering for you, clapping for you, saying, oh, what a wonderful presentation. But the question is, how do you do that? How do you make a presentation engaging? By using storytelling in your presentation. If you bring stories into your presentation, you will become a great presenter. It's said, where ordinary presenters inform. Okay, in a presentation, if you are a very ordinary presenter, you will just inform. You will just present the data and the statistics, and you'll deliver the content. You will give all the information. But if you are a great presenter, then you will engage the audience. You will connect with the audience through storytelling. Now, why should you trust me? Welcome, Komal. So now you'll say, why? Why do we trust you? How can stories make a difference? It's hard to believe, but it's true that many of the best TED Talks are anchored in storytelling. So I have put here links of 2 such TED Talks. It will come a little while later into the workshop. So in this masterclass, I'm going to tell you why is storytelling important if you want to build powerful presentation. Okay, why do TED speakers anchor their talks in storytelling? Because TED speakers, they are quite influential, they're successful people. So why are they also using storytelling in their presentation? There has to be a reason. Oh, Agreem, that was excellent. Your brother was invited to TED Talks. That's lovely. You must be so proud of him. Good job. All right. So a masterclass, as I said, to use stories in presentations. So as I was telling you that you will ask me that, Nupur ma'am, why do stories matter in presentations? How will it engage audience? You are talking about using stories to deliver powerful presentations? Why? So I'll quickly explain you stories. So stories engage. Okay. Now, is there anybody here who likes movies? Is there anyone here who likes movies? Me, Manan, Shantanu, Agrim. Okay. Rohit, you just joined us. Do you like movies? Do you like movies? Yeah? I would love to hear from you. Pavitra, if you're around, Aniket, Kumar Gaurav, Suhani, Tejaspini, how about you all? Do you like movies? Hello, Suhani. Hello. I have got some answers and they say, yes, we like movies. Okay. How about books? Like, do you like reading storybooks also? Do you like listening to reading stories in books? Rohit says no. Agrim says yes, novels. Suhani says I like movies. Manan says yes, I like books. Shantanu says, Shantanu, is it a no for movies or is it a no for books? What do you don't like? Ashrita says, okay, Ashrita says she likes movies and books. Hopefully that's what I am reading. Shantanu says I don't like books. But Shantanu, you like movies. Okay, my next question to you. Do you like talking to friends? Do you like talking to your friends? Do you like conversations? Ma'am, this is for which class? Rohit, can you tell me again what you want to ask? Because I didn't quite get your question. Suhani says, yes, I like talking to friends. Even Shantanu Agrim says they like talking to friends. Is there anybody else here who likes talking to friends? Manan, yes. Even I love talking to my friends. I love conversations. Ashrita says, yes. I'm so happy that you all are responding to me. Thank you so much. So why do we like movies? Why do we like books? Some of us don't like, but for those who like books. And then why do some of us like conversations? These are nothing but stories. So ma'am, who can attend this class? Rohit, please feel free. This class is for all of you. Whoever wants to learn how to use stories in presentations, whether you are participating in debate in school, or you're participating in elocution, or you're engaging in public speaking, or you are participating in a storytelling competition, this masterclass is for all of you. All right, Rohit. So as I was saying that stories engage. Okay, when we engage in a discussion or conversation, when we are watching a movie, when we are reading a book, these are nothing but stories. For example, after this presentation, you will go back to your parents, or you will call a friend, or you will call your cousin and say, you know what, I attended a presentation in the Creative Corner. It was a master class about using storytelling in presentation. And you know what? She started like this, and then she explained that, and then in the end she did this. So what are you doing? You're describing the middle, you're describing the beginning, the middle, and end. When you go to watch a movie, there's a beginning, there's a middle, there's an end. When you read a novel, beginning, middle, end, right? When you come back from school and you tell your mother about a particular teacher, and how well the teacher taught in the class, that's nothing but a story. When you wake up in the morning and you share the nightmare that you had last night, or the dream that you dreamt last night, nothing but stories. So stories, are engaging. Everybody likes stories. So if you use stories in presentation, you will be able to hold your audience attention. They will be engaged. Now you will ask me, why are you saying that? What is the proof? I'll show it to you. So when you listen to a presentation, okay, where only language is used, data, some slides with some text. So if you're doing that, if you're speaking only about a topic, giving facts, giving factual information, only two parts, this orange part and this red part, only two parts of the brain gets activated, not the entire brain. But when you listen to a story, the entire brain gets activated. And jitna brain activate hoga na, if the whole brain gets activated, if my whole brain is activated, I will be able to engage more. If only a small part of my brain is activated, I will engage less. So if you use stories in presentation, you will be able to activate the entire brain of your audience members. If I tell you a story now, I'm sure all of your brains will get activated and you will be listening to story. But if I make this presentation very dull and boring, okay, do this, do that, and this is the thing to do, this is not the thing to do, you will be like, oh God, when is it going to end? Why? Because the whole brain will not be activated. So use stories to engage your audience. Stories are remembered. Rest everything else is forgotten. Okay, so again another poll. How many of you remember the hare and tortoise story? कछुआ और खरगोश की कहानी किन सबको याद है? So if you remember, it's A. If you don't remember, it is B. Okay, all right, super. Everybody remembers the hare and tortoise story. Okay, now how many of you can tell me how many of you can remember a concept that you learned in a science class in grade 3? Okay, how many, if I tell you, is there anybody who can explain a concept from a science lesson that they studied in grade 3? How many of you will be able to? If you remember, it's A. If you don't remember, it is B. Okay, so let's go ahead. If you remember, it is A. Okay, you remember? Can somebody explain a science concept that they read in grade 3? Any science concept that you can recall from grade 3? Is there anybody? Afshan, welcome. Pyapti, welcome. Suhani, you remember? Okay, that's good. Anybody else remember anything that they studied in grade 3 in a science class? You know what happens? Stories are remembered, rest everything else is forgotten. Like I have studied Pythagoras theorem, I have studied Archimedes principle, I have studied rotation revolution of Earth, I have studied trigonometry, algebra, everything. But if you ask me to explain Pythagoras theorem, I have to think for some time. I have to scratch my head. Yaad nahi aa raha, what was it? But if you ask me, ma'am, can you tell the Thirsty Crow story? Immediately I'll be able to recall. Can you tell me the Jack and Beanstalk story? Turant. Can you tell us the Cinderella story? Immediately. So more than anything else, we remember stories. And for that reason, stories should be used in presentations. They are about 22 times more memorable than facts. They're 22 times more memorable than facts. So what is the point in spending 10 hours on a presentation, just preparing the slides, putting all the facts, putting all the data, and then when you present it to your audience, the audience will not remember it? What is the point? Is there any advantage? But what if we spend making a presentation and when we present it, the audience claps and they will always remember your presentation? We would all want that, right? So we have to use stories in our presentations. If you use stories, the chances are it will be remembered. It will make the presentation 22 times more memorable. So is there anybody who disagrees? Stories engage, stories are memorable. We have discussed 2 points. Are you all with me? Give me a thumbs up if you've understood. Shantanu, thank you so much. Agreed. I'm getting a lot of thumbs up and I am moving ahead because I know that you all believe that stories should be used in presentations. Thank you so much. To move ahead, well, there are more points. Empathy. Now, what is empathy? Can somebody explain what does empathy mean? Empathy का मतलब क्या होता है? What is the one word that comes to your mind when you think of the word empathy? Which word comes to your mind? Empathy? Is there anybody who can tell me what empathy means? Yes, Agreem, share feelings. All right. Okay. What else comes to your mind? I want to know from you. आपके दिमाग में क्या आता है? जब आप empathy word सुनते हो, तो what is that first thing that strikes you? All right, let me share with you. Emotions. Okay, Afshan, that's very, very logical. Empathy, emotions. That is one thing that comes to your mind. Absolutely correct. Agreem says ability to understand emotions. Yes, Agreem, that's correct too. So, in simple words, empathy means listening to somebody else's ears, seeing things through somebody else's eyes, yeah, and feeling through somebody else's heart. Okay, so what happens is that when you listen to a story, okay, you are able to imagine the character. You start putting yourself in the character's shoes. You start seeing what the character is seeing. You start feeling what the character is feeling. You start hearing what the character is hearing. Has it happened to you that आप एक movie देखने गए हो, you've gone to watch a movie and you start crying, seeing a very emotional scene? There's a kid in the movie who's crying. And do you cry looking at that scene? Yes, Shantanu, thank you for your honesty. Even I have cried so many times watching a movie. Often, says Bapti, Suhani, Afshan, Inola. Thank you so much for being so honest. Yes, we all have cried watching a sad scene in the movie, and we all have smiled and we have all laughed looking at some funny scenes. Why? कोई और acting कर रहा है, somebody else is acting. What does it have to do with us? Because what we are watching, a movie is nothing but a story. And stories tap into our emotions. When we listen to a story, when we watch a movie, when we read a story in a book, it generates empathy. We start identifying with the character in the story. जो कैरेक्टर दिखा रहा है वो हमें दिखने लग जाता है, जो कैरेक्टर फील कर रहा है वो हमें फील होने लग जाता है, and that is called empathy. So if you use stories in your presentation, you can tap into the emotions of your audience and they will connect better to your presentations. Any questions? Any questions? Understand what I'm trying to say? My dear learners, have you understood? Yes? All right. A few more yes? Thank you so much. To say, my dear learners, have you understood? Yes? All right. A few more yes? Thank you so much. All right. So more reasons to use stories in presentation. And what about imagination? So here I'll take a quick pause and I'm going to tell you a story. Story of this boy Rahul who lived with his parents in the outskirts of a village where the forest began. Rahul's school was just at a stone's throw from his place, so every day he would walk to school and come back home walking. Now one day, Rahul was leaving home for school and he called out to his mother that, Mama, you have been making aloo parathas every day for dinner. Today when I come back from school, give me a nice, tasty snack. Okay, Mama, don't make those aloo parathas, please. Now his mother nodded. And Rahul thought his mama has understood, she's heard it. Now he walked to school. He reached the school. He sat in his classroom. He opened his books. And just then the teacher walked in. And the teacher asked him to submit their homework. And that's when Rahul realized that he'd forgotten his homework book at home. And he stood up and very politely said, Sir, I've forgotten my homework book at home. What? Rahul, you're always careless. I'm going to take you to the headmaster. What was this? This was the first time that Rahul had forgotten his homework book at home. And the teacher was accusing him of being careless all the time. Rahul did not take it well. He felt so bad. Tears welled up in his eyes. And looking at those tears, his friends and his classmates started giggling. And soon that giggle turned into a laughter, and that laughter turned into bullying. And by the end of the day, he was picked for every little thing he was doing. He felt emotionally drained by the end of the day. And as home, every step that he took felt like 10 long steps. That tired Rahul was. But it was just that thought of something nice waiting on the dining table that kept him going. He reached home, He was in a bad mood. He kept his bag on the side and he sat on the table, waiting for something delicious. And what did his mother serve him? You have to give me the answer. What is that something special that his mother made for him? Aloo paratha, agree. I think your mummies do the same thing, or is it so? Yeah? Yes, you guessed it right. You all are smart. Rahul was served another aloo paratha, and that was it. He pushed the plate aside and he walked out of the house and he thought, nobody in this world loves me. And he walked away from home. And he thought he will never ever come back. He walked and he walked. He walked and he walked. He walked for a great long time. And soon he entered the forest. And as he walked into the forest grew deeper and deeper, denser and denser, darker and darker. He looked all around. He couldn't see anybody, but he could sense a pair of eyes watching him. He started hearing noises. He looked around. He couldn't spot anyone, but he could sense somebody making that sound. Rahul turned back. He wanted to find his way home, but as he turned back, oh no! He had lost his way. And just then, just at that very moment, I stop my story here and I want you to complete the story. What happened at that very moment? What do you think happened next? What do you think happened next? You have to give me the answer. You have to give me the answer of what happened next. It's your story now. You have to give me the answer. Another pair of eyes behind. Maybe there was somebody else watching him. Manan, who could that be? Who could that be who was watching him? You all are doing so great with your responses. Come, let them keep coming. Hi, Naz. Yes, it could have been that, agree? We don't know. It's your story. You build it your way. He woke up and saw that his mother is calling him, "Get up, my boy!" So our dear Rahul was dreaming. Quite possible. Thank you so much for that answer, Vyapti. All right. The next question. I said, Rahul sensed a pair of eyes watching him. Did you see any animals? He couldn't spot any animals. He could just sense somebody was watching him. So when I was narrating this story to you, could you see any animals? Did any animals appear in front of your eyes? No, Agrim says. No, Manan says. Okay. Wolves. Vyapti says she saw wolves. But I did not say wolves, but Vyapti saw it. It was her imagination. Okay. Did you hear any sounds? I did not describe any sounds, but could you hear sounds? It's okay if you could not hear sounds. That's absolutely fine. There's no right or wrong answer. Okay, but just like the wolves, maybe you heard some sounds too. That's very much possible. Okay, see, there are few of you heard sounds. Okay, Vyapti says forest sounds like the cricket, like river. Okay, flowing river. Oh, Inola says buzzing sounds. All right. Okay. Now my last question to you. When you heard the story of Rahul, could you picture him? And if yes, what was he wearing for you in your imagination? When I was telling the story of Rahul, could you picture him in clothes? And if yes, what was he wearing in your imagination? School dress. Ah, yes. School dress. Okay. What else? Anybody else imagined him in anything? Akrim says it was a school dress. What else? See, there comes another answer from Enola. She says a red shirt and blue pants. So specifically, Enola could see Rahul. Vyapti says a full sleeve jacket and a cap and pants. But now my last question, and I promise this is my last question. Did I give you these answers? Did I tell in the story that Rahul was a boy who was wearing a jacket and pants? Rahul was a boy who was walking through a jungle where the crickets were making a sound? No. Anybody else? No. Manan, it was his birthday. That's why he was casually dressed. Okay. All right. I accept that answer as well. Inola says, no, it was in my mind. Shalman says, no, it was my imagination. Agreem says walking with hunger as his mother served him parathas. Okay, all right. So, what I understand from you is when you heard the story of Rahul, you let your imagination work. I did not give you all the answers, but you filled in the blanks. Now, if I ask you how did his house look, you will have an answer. How did that teacher look? You will have an answer. How did what else can I say? How describe the path on which he was walking? You will have an answer. So, what happens when you listen to a story? The story sends you on a mental journey. In that journey, you start weaving one thing with the other. So when you use stories in your presentation, you turn your presentation into a and your audience engages themselves in that mental movie. Remember, there is no one in the world who doesn't like a movie. So if you can turn your presentations into a mental movie, just imagine what fun your audience can have with your presentations. All right. Okay. So now Vyapti is giving me more answer. I love your excitement. A snowy hill. He lived on a hill. Okay. I can connect Rahul with Nobita, Manan. All right. So you see, if we had time, we could have gone on and on discussing Rahul's story, and so many answers would have come. And those answers would have been your imagination, not mine. I did not tell you where he lived, what he wore, what he ate. It was all your imagination. So if you want to make your presentations powerful, learn to use stories in your presentation, because stories turn presentations into mental movies, which engages audience. I'll move on now. So that is why I said most of the or many of the best TED speakers, they use stories in their TED talks. All right. So these are two TED talks that I have immensely enjoyed, and I have watched them over and over again. So this presentation, this masterclass will be available, okay, on Unacademy platform. You can come back and you can note this links and you can watch them. And particularly in this in this TED talk, you will notice that this is a 12-year-old boy from Africa. He has used so many stories, okay, in his presentation. It's beautiful watch. It's a very beautiful watch. Very simply, he's shared his ideas in the talk, and he's used stories to present his ideas. Okay, so you must look up. Then you will be able to understand what have I shared in this masterclass. Okay, so that is why there's not enough evidence that presenters inform. Great presenters engage in storytelling. So do you want to be great at presentation? Yes or no? Do you want to make your presentations very, very effective so that audience do not want to leave their seats and they said, can you talk a little more? Agreem, Shantanu, Vapti, Enola, Manan, can you please talk a little more? We're feeling so happy with your presentations. All right, we'll move on. Thank you for your answers. Okay. Now, I'm sure you all are ready to elevate your presentation game to the next level, and I'll show you how. So how do you use stories in presentations? Now that I have told you stories should be used in presentation, now next question from you will be, ma'am, how do we use stories in presentations? So that is also very simple. Start your presentation with a story, always. How did I start this presentation? My presentation today was to tell you how to use stories in your presentation. So this itself is a presentation for me. This masterclass is a presentation for me. How did I start this masterclass? If you had joined in time, some of you were there with me right from the first minute. Can you tell me how did I start my presentation today? Anybody? I was confident, Shantanu, thank you. Bhakti, you were late. No problem. I'm glad that you still joined me here. I'll tell you. Okay, in case you missed out, I was born in Kolkata. Manan, you got me right. Okay, I was born in Kolkata. So what was I saying? I was born in Kolkata, how I was as a kid, how I was as a student. What was I doing, Manan? Yes, what was I doing, Manan? I was sharing a story. I started my presentation with a story from my life. So always it's a good idea to start your presentation with once upon a time, a story. Not always once upon a time. I'll tell you some of the story openers, how to start a story. I'll give you some ideas later. But start your presentation with a story, because, the first minute of the presentation is very critical. It's very crucial. It is that time when you draw your audience into the presentation. So you cannot mess up with the first minute of your presentation. So start with a story, always. But you have to remember that when you start with a story, you do not say, let me tell you a story. You do not say, let me start my presentation today with a story. You do not say, today I will share a story about so and so. No. You cannot do that. Say a line that will grab everybody's attention. It will act as a hook. एक hook होता है ना, उस hook से आप कुछ भी पकड़ सकते हो. So your story beginner should be like a hook that can take people's attention. I never thought it would happen to me. It was the scariest moment of my life. I clearly remember that morning. And immediately your audience, who might be looking here there, will be like, what? Is she saying something interesting? And that very moment, you will pull them into the story. All right? Last slide I'm coming to. Remember to not deliver a long list of thank yous. I thank you, my principal ma'am. I thank you, my mother. I thank you, my father. I thank my friends. Don't do that. That's boring. Don't start your presentation by walking audience through your credentials. Oh, I am so and so, and I have stood first all my life, and I have won a medal at Olympiad, and tomorrow I'm traveling to Tokyo for a competition. Nobody is interested. They have come to hear the presentation. So dive right into the presentation with a story. Do not even outline the agenda. So today I'm going to tell you, today in the presentation, I'm going to share 5 ways of doing this. And I'm going to tell you how to be successful. And I'm going to tell you, don't do that. That's very, very, what is the right word for it? Outdated. Very outdated. बहुत पुराने ज़माने में ऐसा होता था. Times have changed. Okay, so it's boring. Vyapti, yes, it's boring. So you are going to start your presentation with a story, and with the story, not by saying that let me tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story today. I'm going to start my presentation with a story. La 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 la. No. You are going to give or start with a sentence that will grab your audience attention. If you were there right in the beginning, you would have noticed that I didn't say anything. I started the class and I said, once upon a time, a long, long time ago, I was born in the city of joy. You did not come to this masterclass with did you know, or did you ever think that in the masterclass you will get to hear a story? Tell me, everybody, did you come with an expectation or an idea that this masterclass is going to start with a story, and that too a personal story, that the storyteller will tell a personal story from her life? No. So what did I do? I caught you by surprise by sharing a personal story with you. And only after my personal story, I welcomed you in the class. I did not say, hello, everybody. My name is Nupur Aggarwal. I'm a story coach. I'm a published author. And I welcome you to this masterclass on using storytelling in presentation. So listen to a story. No. That is so boring. Never do that. All right. Move on. What kind of story? A personal story works very well. Believe me. When I started the masterclass with a personal story, okay, how many of you were there? Just write, just give me a signal that you were there and you heard my personal story. It's okay if you were not there, but if you were there, me, Manan, you were there. All right. Manan was there. Vyapti, it's okay. You were not there. I know. Shantanu was there. Manan was there. All right. So these two, I'm going to ask you some questions, Shantanu and Manan. So I shared a personal story. All right. Now, when I shared this personal story with you, okay, did you trust my personal story? Did you feel that she's faking it? It never happened to her? ऐसे ही बोल रही है? Or you heard and you said, oh yeah, this happened to her. And you were listening. Yeah. What happened? You were thinking, what will she say next? Yeah. I trust her. I trust what she's saying. Did that happen to you? Did you trust my story? Trusted. Thank you, Shantanu. Manan? Yes. All right. So a personal story is using a personal story or starting a presentation with a personal story can go a long way in helping you connect with your audience. Why? Because personal story is something that has happened to you. You have lived that story. So when you say that, you're very comfortable. Okay, unless you're faking it. अगर आप fake कर रहे हो, आप बोल कुछ हुआ नहीं है and you are just and making things up, then your audience will not connect. Okay, so it has to be really authentic. So when you share an authentic story from your life, okay, what are you doing? You're telling the audience, see, I trust you, and so I'm sharing a very private part of my life. Do you think I will go around telling the world that as a child I had communication problems, as a child I couldn't maintain eye contact, as a child I was bad at studies, as a child I had failed in grade 6? Do you think I will go around telling everybody? Never. But I chose to tell you so that I set the right tone in my presentation. In my presentation, when I use the personal story, you will say, oh no, see, she's sharing a story from her life. And you know what will happen when I am telling that personal story? No, I will engage with the story because I have lived that story. And when I will engage with the story, I will tell it in a way that will engage you also. And secondly, I want you to hear me, right? It was a masterclass. You have come. I want my audience, I want 10, 11 of you who are here. I don't want you to go away. I want you to stay with me. How do I ensure that? How do I ensure that? By making that connection right in the beginning. By telling you, see, I trust you. Okay. And when I show that trust, you will show me that trust. You will say, we are here to listen to your presentation and we will trust whatever you teach us. So it makes my life easy as a presenter if right from the beginning, I can connect with you through a personal story. Okay. Be sure your story is on point. Talk about anything that's relevant, not irrelevant. Kuch bhi nahi story sunani hai. Because the whole idea, okay, I'll take a pause. There are some comments coming in. I trusted Rahul's story. Your storytelling is fab, man. Thank you, Vyapti. Thank you so much. I'm glad you liked it. Manan, it takes courage. That is why audience can trust. Absolutely. Love that point of yours. It takes a lot of courage to tell a personal story. And if that personal story is not so pleasant, मैं बहुत अच्छी थी पढ़ाई में, I was good at studies, I was very beautiful, everybody loved me, anybody can share. But to tell your audience that you had speech problems, to tell your audience that you were very average student, to tell your audience that you had failed in an exam requires courage. All right? But just don't tell a personal story to gain sympathy from the audience कि मैं कुछ तो ऐसा बताऊंगी कि मेरा एक्सीडेंट हो गया था, मैं फेल हो गई थी ताकि मेरा ऑडियंस मेरे साथ एंगेज करे. No, that brings us to the point that whatever story you use in your presentation, make sure it is relevant to the presentation. See, today when I'm presenting this topic, okay, when I'm telling you how to use stories in a presentation, it requires, I'm telling you, I'm coming across as a confident speaker, right? I'm able to maintain eye contact with you. I'm able to engage you. I'm able to tell you stories, right? I'm able to do all that. But I was not able to do that once upon a time. So that this story from my life was very relevant to this particular masterclass. So I shared it. So many stories that happened in my life. I could have told you about my child's birth. I could have told you about my marriage. I could have told you about, going to Goa with my friends. But मैंने ये सब नहीं बोला. I did not share all that because those things are not relevant to this presentation. So talk about stories only that's relevant, because the idea is not to entertain your audience. The idea is to inform your audience. So how many stories now you say, ma'am, how many stories should we use throughout the presentation? Now, there is no magic number, there is no rule, but I would say that in this presentation, by the end of presentation, I would have shared 3 stories. 3 or 4 stories in 1 hour presentation sounds good to me, but it depends on the length of the presentation and the length of your story. If your presentation is for 15 minutes and you share 5 stories, people will think you're only sharing stories, you're not presenting anything. So you decide. What is the duration of your presentation? If you're asked to speak on a topic in school, okay, or if you are asked to speak in an elocution contest and they have given you 5 minutes to speak, then of course you can't use 2 stories. Then it has to be only one short, crisp story to make your point. Okay, so remember, do not overload. Do not let stories overwhelm you so much that आप सिर्फ story बोलते हो. Then their presentation will go wrong. Okay, agree 100 to 120 words can be good. Yeah, it can be spoken in about 1.5 minutes. Yes, agree. So if your presentation is for 5 minutes, 120 word story should be good. Thank you for asking that. And close with a story. Okay, again, it's always fun because you have presented, you have told a story, you have presented data and statistics, and if you have spoken about a freedom fighter, आपने सब उसके बारे में बताया है. And now when you close with a story, it's so relaxing for the audience and they go with a smile on their faces. Okay, Babita, welcome to the class. But 4 golden rules that I would like to share before we end the masterclass. Number 1, keep your stories short and simple. Very, very important, because when you work on a story, suppose you want to work on a story, or say, I'll give you my example. So I told you a personal story from my life. Okay, I wanted to present it in this masterclass. Now, there are so many things from my life. I can keep on writing, keep on writing, keep on writing. But I might think this information is important. But I have to ask, is the information that I'm presenting in the story important to my audience? If not, cross it. So make your story, do not cramp the story with a lot of information. Audience is not interested. Your presentation time is short. Audience attention span is short. So respect both and make simple. Do not use very flowery language कि उसको याद करने में ही आपको इतना nervousness हो जाएगा, इतना tension हो जाएगा that you will forget about your presentation. Keep it very simple. The audience will connect to simple stories. Your stories should fit within the context of your presentation. Put a story across. Share a story to make a point, to make a relevant point in the presentation. Okay, so for example, if you're presenting, if you have a presentation on healthy eating habits, all right, then share a story about if you were ever fat and you've become thin. Talk about your journey from fat to fit. Okay, or if you're talking about, if your teacher says that give a very motivational talk to grade 3 or grade 4, and you are suppose in grade 8, and they say that tomorrow in assembly, Manan, for example, I'm just picking Manan, tomorrow in the assembly, we want you to give a motivational speech to grade 3 and 4. Then maybe you can share a motivational speech. You can share the story, a small snippet from the life of Mahatma Gandhi or Sachin Tendulkar or Roger Federer. Okay, so that should, because this story should fit into your presentation. If Manan is asked to give a presentation on healthy eating habits and he talks about a story on stars, it will not fit into your presentation. So be very careful of what kind of story you choose, and it should be relevant to the experience and interest of your audience. All right. So if you, like, I am assuming that all of you are between age 11 and say 16. Okay. And if I share a story which is relevant to maybe older people, senior citizens, will you not get bored? You say, no, what is she saying? The story is not for us. I don't understand what she's talking. So always respect the experience and interest of your audience. And the whole idea of presenting stories or using stories in your presentation is to complement the information. Okay, when I've been telling you, use stories in presentation, use stories in presentation, my idea is not to take you away from your presentation. My idea is to thank you, Enola. Thank you for that compliment, beautiful compliment. Ma'am, you teach very nicely. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm not trying to tell you in this masterclass that please, my dear learners, in presentation, don't care about the data, don't care about statistics, don't care about content, care only about stories. I have not said that. I have said use stories to complement the information. Right? When you dress up for a birthday party, you wear a dress and you wear matching shoes. Then matching shoes doesn't replace your dress. It complements your dress. Right? Similarly, stories should complement the presentation. Okay, speech is important. Slides are also important. Okay, so time for question answers. If you have any questions, and one more thing, if you do not have any questions right now, which absolutely fine, you can send me a message. Okay, there is a feature, you can send me an offline message with any query you have, and I'll be so happy to answer them. Okay, so any questions? Yes, no? I'll tell you one more story before we go. Ma'am, do you have any group? Bharti, what kind of a group are you asking for? On the Creative Corner, you can contact me. Offline, yes, there is a feature on the app, on Unacademy platform. There is a feature where you can leave a question for the educator. So you can send me your questions. Okay? Ma'am, in story we leave some suspense. Okay, Shantanu, that's a in a story, should we leave some suspense? It depends on your presentation and the story you are presenting. For example, if I wanted to send you all on a mental journey through that Rahul story, so I left it at a point where I said Rahul turned around and I stopped. And then I asked you, what happened next? Tell me. So I built suspense. Okay, so it depends on you. It is not that without suspense stories cannot happen. It can happen. But if you feel like building suspense, go for it. All right, any more questions for me? We'll move on then. All right, so now that I have taught you how to use stories in presentation, I have a small request. If you can send me a video on your 3 key takeaways from this masterclass, 3 things that you have learned in the masterclass, and how you will apply those 3 things in your next presentation. Okay, if you're giving a presentation in your school, it could be anything, it could be a speech, it could be a small written presentation that your teacher has asked for, or a project work that your teacher wants you to talk about. How will you apply what you have learned in this masterclass? I want you to record a video and please send it. Now you will wonder, where will we send the video? So I am going to share a link here right away. And I'm going to pin this. Okay, so this is where you can send me your videos, and I'll just show you how to create those videos and something more exciting. But before that, you have been exploring Creative Corner, where you get to learn about robotics, coding, negotiation. There's financial literacy classes, chess, Vedic maths, and then Artist Corner, Orators Corner, and Book Lovers Corner, where you meet me. All right, and not just that, this Creative Corner is complimentary. It's absolutely free with iconic subscription, and if you use my referral code NUPAL10, you get a 10% discount as well. Okay, and this masterclass was part of the Creative Corner December Carnival, where all the classes that are happening as part of the Carnival are absolutely free. So today is 17th December, and you still have 2 more weeks to go. And in these 2 weeks, you have so many masterclasses coming up. So keep enjoying them, keep attending them, keep learning them. And this is where, if you send us the video, if we like the video, we will be putting it up on the YouTube channel. It's called Creative Corner by Unacademy. We'll feature your video on the Unacademy Creative Corner channel on YouTube. All right. So keep in mind that you submit the video before 31st of December, and when you record the video, you put it on a landscape mode, number one. Number two, keep it clutter free. Do not have too many things in your background. Good lighting source, no noise around you, and you will be good to go. Okay, so thank you so much, and I would love to have you with me for 2 more minutes, because I want to end this presentation with a story. The story of an old man, a very, very handsome looking old man who lived in a village, and in that village, everybody loved him. Oh, he had a long flowing beard, and he wore a jacket with 100 pockets around it. And everyone offered him tea and coffee and biscuits and wine and cheese. And wherever he went, there was no dearth of hospitality. Oh, please come in. Oh, please come and have tea with me. Hey, how about a coffee with me tomorrow evening? So you see how happy he would be. And in this, a lady whom no one liked. Whenever people would see her, they would turn away their faces. Now, this lady was really troubled, and one day she went to the old man and he said, "Hey, what's your name? Everybody likes you. Nobody likes me." The old man smiled and he said, "My name is Story. What's your name, dear lady?" "My name is Truth." So you see, my young learners, nobody likes to listen to the truth. Everybody likes to listen to the story. So that is why everybody loved him. No one loved her. But the story doesn't end here. So this lady now thought that I will do better. I am going to remove all my clothes and I am going to run around the village naked, and I'm sure people will be attracted towards me. So she removed her clothes and she started roaming around without clothes, and now people became more wary of her. Whenever they would see her, they would run home, they would shut their doors and windows, and they would avoid looking at her. But for the old man, he continued enjoying that hospitality. So this lady was very troubled and tired, and she went to the old man and said, "What do I do? Everyone likes you, no one likes me." The old man, Story, the old man had the wisdom. He had the wisdom. He knew that the entire world needed truth. Everyone needed a bit of truth. So he invited Truth to jump into one of his pockets and stay with him. He told Truth that from today, wherever I go, I will take you along with me. And you know, since that day, wherever Story went, Truth traveled with the story. So whenever you listen to a story, you will find a little bit of truth in it. Thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you enjoyed the session. Ma'am, what kind of video we have to make as an example of the 3 lessons we learned? Manan, you know, you learned a few things in this masterclass. Do one thing. I would request everybody to see the video once again. What this masterclass video is available offline. See it once again and note down 3 things that you learned from this masterclass. The most important things that you have learned. And how will you use those 3 things, okay, in your next presentation? Okay, Inola, thank you so much. All right, Manan, does that answer your question? What kind of videos? Ma'am, I saw your videos of storytelling. You're amazing. Thank you, Inola. Thank you so much. You have been so kind and generous with your comments. Manan, do I answer your question? Did I answer your question? Just 3 things that you have liked in today's presentation, that you have learned from today's masterclass. And next time when you give your presentation, how will you apply those 3 things? For example, Manan, say that, when I told you that start your presentation with a story. So your first learning could be start the presentation with a story. So you can say that next time when I'm presenting, say when I'm giving a presentation on volcanoes, I'm going to start my presentation with a story. Okay, then I said your story should be short, so maybe that is something. 1 second, learners. Yeah, so next time when you so the second thing could be, you thought that my story should be short and simple. That is another thing I want to keep in mind. So maybe you can say, the next time when I give a presentation on volcanoes, I'm going to keep the story short and simple. And exactly how you will keep short and simple, just give your little ideas over there. Okay. Vyapti says, okay, Manan, I hope I have heard your question. Vyapti says, tell the truth by stories. Yes, Vyapti, you can tell a personal story. Okay, that could be great. Okay, Manan, it's clear now, and I'm going to end the class. I'm so happy to see all of you here with me today, and I hope that I took you on a fun joy ride in this masterclass on how to use stories in presentations. Bye-bye. And I have another class coming up on Saturday at 11 a.m. on Creative Corner. It's my regular class where I'm going to share some stories from the world of sports. If you are around, feel free to drop by. Bye. Manan, good. I'll wait for you. Bye, everyone. Bye bye.